Welcome, Ron Berndsen. You just left the stage for your presentation. You're head of Market Infrastructure's Policy Department at the Dutch Central Bank. Please explain what is your daily business?
Yes, the Financial Markets Infrastructure Policy Department is responsible for the policy and the development of financial market infrastructures. And you can consider them as being the backbone of the economy. That's where all complex financial transactions are settled and are safe kept. So you're talking about transactions at the retail level, but also at the level between banks, and also all the securities transactions at the stock exchange, for instance. So these are really large sums of money that get changed hand every day.
Okay. Obviously, you have an interest in the blockchain technology, otherwise you wouldn't be here on stage. Please tell me, when did the Dutch Central Bank really started to investigate and research on the blockchain technology?
Well, the interest was already in 2013, of course, when the huge price increase of Bitcoin started. And then we got off to a start where you can say, well, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise. There was some negative publicity with Bitcoin. So we issued a warning as a Dutch central bank for all the general public to be careful with Bitcoins. But at the same time, we saw that the underlying technology is actually very promising. And so we now clearly distinguish the blockchain technology from Bitcoin, although Bitcoin is the first implementation of the blockchain technology. And what we do is to study this blockchain technology by first adapting the prototype Bitcoin software ourselves. Yes. Because the idea is that when you do it yourself, you learn at a much deeper level than if you would do desk research or talk to other people. We do also that, of course, but on top of that, we also experiment ourselves. So we built our own variant of the Bitcoin called the DNBCoin, and we replicated the early 2 months of Bitcoin, and we replicated the last 2 months of Bitcoin in 2140, when all the Bitcoins will be mined. And reassuringly, we also saw that after that, the software just continues. So that's the good news.
Okay, and are you one of the first central banks in doing such a pilot, or for yourself with DNB coins, or are there any other?
As far as we know, yeah, we are among the first central banks who have done this type of experiment ourselves. Of course, many central banks have conducted other experiments as well, either with partners or with using open source software.
You were on stage giving a presentation. Can you tell us more about your presentations? What were your main messages you gave the audience?
So what I did is I have tried to define what blockchain technology actually is. Yeah. I've been working in artificial intelligence at the end of the 80s, and there you always had to explain what is your definition of artificial intelligence. And now people are asking what is your definition of blockchain. So I thought it would be wise to go into that. And I have described the 3 underlying technologies of blockchain that in my view constitute together a variant of the blockchain technology. After having defined that, I went on to see what could be a promising area of the blockchain technology in the field of financial market infrastructures. Because I think that if you have an application in my field or in other fields, that application should be about financial transactions. So you should have a digital asset on your blockchain. You should have the uptime. It should be, if that is very important, you should you can use potentially the blockchain. If adding smart contracts is very important, that is also one. And if the consensus where you are able to really make sure that you agree on transactions is important, then the blockchain could be a fruitful application. And for financial market infrastructures, I hope to have made clear that they form a kind of natural way of implementing blockchain.
Are you working together perhaps at the European level with other central banks? Because this technology is so new and so promising. it can be wise, I think, to work together with other central banks.
Yeah, so we are working, central banks are organized at the G20 level in the CPMI, Committee for Payments and Market Infrastructures. I'm a member of that committee, and the idea is that we join forces with the other central banks in having established a new working group on digital innovation, where blockchain will play a major role.
Okay. Nelly Cruz was earlier on stage this morning, and she talked about a sort of temporary free zone for entrepreneurs experimenting with fintech technologies or Bitcoin or blockchain technologies. What is the Dutch Central Bank doing with these kind of suggestions? Because as I understand, also the Dutch Minister of Finance, Jeroen Dijsselbloem, is a strong advocate of such a free zone.
Yeah. Well, as you may know, AFM and DNB have put into life the Innovation Hub, where you can experiment with this type of technologies before you have to give a license. And that is something, I think, already showing our positive attitude towards the blockchain technology and other digital innovations. We should not forget there is more than blockchain. Mm-hmm. But I think that is something very important. At the same time, as we all know, and especially in large networks, it's very difficult to overthrow the network in a short time. So what I see is a kind of dual line where you would have traditional technologies coexisting together with the new blockchain technologies. And then, of course, those two worlds should interact in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And if blockchain were to take over after a number of years, then you would have completely replaced the old technology, but that will take many years, yes, because there are some barriers to overcome. And I've also alluded to those three barriers in my speech. The first one is standardization. It's very important to have a worldwide standard for blockchains. It's very important to break vested interests, because many people who are intermediaries, they make a living because they are enjoying the inefficiencies in the existing chains. And if a blockchain is really replacing them, they will of course resist. So we will need something that needs to be done. And the third one is about the interoperability, what I explained, where you have to make sure that the old and new technology really can go hand in hand.
I think that you can learn a lot from startups, but startups can also learn from the Dutch Central Bank, especially when you did what you did with your own blockchain. Are there any ideas about how to share your knowledge? And I'm fully aware of your responsibility as a central bank, but it would be very interesting to share the knowledge you gained with your own pilot with startups.
Yeah.
Is this possible somehow?
We are thinking at the moment what the best way is to engage. We are talking to many people at the moment, many parties, to see what they are doing and whether this could be interesting for the central bank. We are also participating in a number of industry initiatives together with other banks. I think we are opening up, and we are also showing what we are doing, what our thoughts are, and that is also a kind of contribution I think you could expect from the central bank.
What are your expectations for the upcoming year about blockchain technology? Do you think there will be disruptive startups, or do you think it's a slow path of?
That really depends on the area of application. If it is an application which is really mission critical, which has a huge reputation risk if things go wrong, those things will not be tried first. Or otherwise I would advise against that, to do so.
Okay.
So what you would expect is some applications which are relatively closed world, where you can have a kind of blockchain which is really covering much of the area that you want to cover, and where the reputation risk is low. Those things will probably be put first into practice. I don't expect a huge payment system to drastically change from old to new technology.
Okay. Maybe we have the opportunity to talk about this next year at the next Bitcoin conference, and we will see what has happened then. Thank you for coming here.
Okay. Thank you very much.